So once upon a time, a long time ago, when I started seminary, Barry and I decided that we needed to be very intentional about together time. So we signed up for weekly ballroom dancing lessons. For 4 years, the evening of our dance class was sacred. Nothing interfered, not classes, not work commitments, not even the lack of a babysitter. At the start of each class, the instructor would put on a record, and yes, that's how long ago it was records, and say, the next dance will be a foxtrot. And off we would go, twirling around the floor in some approximation of the dance. Then one day, halfway through that dance, the music stopped and the instructor said, change partners. We all froze in terror and disbelief. Change partners? But we were doing so well. This is just going to mess us up. We'll never get anywhere dancing with a stranger. Why are you making us do this? Our instructor, Mr. Bill, patiently explained that it is when you change partners that you actually learn to dance. You cannot know whether you are doing well until you dance with somebody new. When you change partners, you get out of whatever ruts you may have fallen into. You discover the mistakes you've been making that you thought were part of the dance. You become aware of unconscious habits. Maybe you even unlearn the least helpful ones. And you discover new ideas and new ways of being. You enjoy creative synergies that you couldn't even have imagined. Most of us took a deep breath and agreed to give it a try. One couple refused. They walked out, never to return. But for some people, it sometimes change is simply not an option. The rest of us decided to take the leap of faith. We changed partners. The music began again, and we continued to foxtrot around the room. The music ended. Mr. Bill said, the next dance will be a waltz, and we waltzed away with our new partners, feeling pretty pleased with ourselves. Then, mid-music, it stopped again. Yep, change partners. So this is the ballroom dancing as a metaphor for creating a radically welcoming and inclusive community sermon. We can't help it, you ministers. We find sermon fodder everywhere. Mostly I find the inspiration for my sermons in the life of the community in which I live and serve. In seminary, we Unitarian Universalists often found ourselves defending or at least explaining what this strange phenomenon called topical preaching was, because most of our classmates practiced lectionary preaching. That is, they preached from a 3-year calendar which assigned Bible verses to each Sunday of the year. The sermon topic for that Sunday came from those particular Bible passages. Seminary colleagues were amazed to learn that not only did we not have to struggle to fit our sermons into the lectionary, we didn't have a lectionary, and we didn't even have to use the Bible. I countered that I was sometimes jealous of them because they didn't have to figure out a topic and appropriate sources for their sermon writing. And speaking of sources, they would say, what are the sources for your sermonizing? What is your text, if not the Bible? And my answer was always, my text is the community I live in and the community I serve. You are my text. Remember that we name as the first source of our living tradition, direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder. My life, your lives, our lives, woven together in this tapestry of faith that we call Unitarian Universalism. That is the vast and deep well from which I draw inspiration for preaching. Thus, this sermon, in which I attempt to illuminate what it means to do the hard work of welcome by invoking that long ago dance lesson experience. I first heard that phrase, the hard work of welcome, a couple months ago in a webinar offered by a refugee resettlement specialist from Lutheran Social Services. You see, here in Virginia, I'm a civilian in my home congregation. And as such, I am co-chairing a task force that will sponsor an Afghan refugee family. We learned that all the practical issues, like finding a suitable apartment with a proprietor willing to rent to someone with no credit history, at least as we know it, raising funds, gathering donations for the apartment setup, all of that is actually the easy part. The hard part is recognizing that our welcome cannot simply be Welcome, here you are. The sooner you learn to be just like us, the better. The genuine work of welcome is allowing ourselves to be changed as we partner with our family. It is being open to new ways of being. It is honoring traditions that we might want to push against. It is realizing that the dance is what happens in the creative interchange among us and between us. And that is true of the hard work of welcome here in this congregation as well. As we move towards reopening the octagon, we have tried to anticipate the practical issues. What equipment do we need to be multi-platform? What skills and expertise do we need to run that equipment? A much more important question. What accommodations do we need to make in planning and leading worship in a multi-platform environment? Believe me, it has taken a lot of work and a bit of stress for us to deal with those practicalities. And believe me, again, we will not have it perfected when we debut our first multi-platform service. But even so, none of that is the hard part. The hard part is recognizing that the world has changed while we've been socially distant. The hard part is allowing ourselves to be changed by the experience of this new normal. And by every person who is new visiting us, who comes through our doors or who Zooms into our programs. Don't be too eager to find people of like mind. Instead, be open to the possibility that genuine transformation comes from partnering with people who have very different experiences, points of view, and ways of being. So as we prepare to throw open our doors, let's be careful not to say, welcome, here you are. The sooner you learn to be just like us, the better. The genuine work of welcome is allowing ourselves to be changed as we partner with potential new members. It is being open to new ways of being a UU. It is honoring traditions that we might want to push against. And it is realizing that the dance is what happens in the creative interchange between us. Oh, and speaking of dance, I believe we were waltzing. So then Mr. Bill put on another record on the turntable and said, the next dance will be a tango. And off we all go, doing our best tango, which for most of us was not actually very good. The tango is hard. Just ask Ed Kramer, who's taking tango lessons now. So maybe we're feeling a bit clumsy and unlovely. And then inevitably the music stops and we again hear those dreaded words, change partners. Some of us by this time are feeling an almost existential dread. We know that we haven't been dancing that tango very well, and our insecurity takes us back to that place that I can only describe as the junior high school wallflower or the last kid sitting on the bench place. We are terrified that nobody will choose us, which brings up all kinds of self-esteem issues and magnifies for us all that we imagine to be wrong with us. We were pretty helpless back then in 7th grade, so vulnerable to peer pressure and judgment, so desperate to be accepted, so wanting the validation that only comes from others before we had developed the internal fortitude to affirm ourselves. If you feel that dread at the thought of doing the hard work of genuine welcome now, let me remind you that you are no longer in junior high school. At least most of you aren't. You are adults with a shared sense of your identity and strengths as a congregation. You have a vision and a mission and a congregational covenant. You have a dedicated staff and equally dedicated lay leadership. Your core programs are strong and your core membership is committed to the long haul. You have resources, you have resilience, you have choices. You can do this hard work of welcome. Now that work will be done on several levels. Each Sunday that a visitor arrives, whether on Zoom or in person, we will need to be doing that hard work of welcome. We still need volunteers on Sunday morning to do the formal work of welcome. We need ushers and welcome table volunteers. But most importantly, we need people who are willing to stay home occasionally and serve as a Zoom host for our virtual worshipers. People who come to the congregation for the first time, hoping against hope that they will be made to feel at home. For those people, they need that smile, that kind word, that glint of recognition, making eye contact. And it's not just the job of the people with formal roles on Sunday morning to make that happen, it's everybody's job. Every one of you can take notice of the person standing alone after the service or the new face on the screen smiling tentatively. You can reach out, and you should, even if it means giving up time chatting with an old friend. See, that's the changing partner piece of this metaphor, except nobody stops the music and tells you to change partners, although I am telling you that now. You just have to do it. And then a little bit further down the road will be the hard work of welcoming a new minister next fall. And here's where the dance class metaphor really works, because when you first start to waltz with a new partner, you will inevitably step on each other's toes or miss a lead cue or get your own feet tangled up. And that's when you have a choice to make. Do you walk out, never to return? Do you blame your new partner and retreat to more familiar partners? Or do you do that hard work of welcome? Untangle your feet, allow yourself to be changed by the interaction, and dance on. One of the hardest things about ballroom dancing was learning that if your partner steps on your feet, you must immediately apologize for having your feet in the wrong place. That is one of the genteel practices that keeps ballroom dancing so civilized. Rather than stop and complain and assign blame, you just gallantly acknowledge the misstep and move on. Because the music doesn't stop, and the rest of the dancers don't stop. And if you are as nimble and resilient as I believe you to be, you won't stop either. Just as you didn't stop in March 2020 when it felt like the world as we knew it was coming to an end. You continue to gather and worship, you continue to care for each other and enjoy fellowship in small groups. You continue to do works of justice and mercy, and you continue to support each other on your personal spiritual paths. In just a little while, Mr. Bill will put another record on the turntable and make his announcement. The next dance will be a triple swing. And off you will go, experts and novices alike, moving to the music, sometimes jitterbugging in high style, sometimes just stumbling around the room. No matter. In the words of the UU troubadour Rick Maston, let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you? Through the good times and the bad times too, let it be a dance. Everybody turn and spin, let your body learn to bend, and like a willow with the end, let it be a dance. Let the sunshine, let it rain, share the laughter, bear the pain, and round we go again. Let it be a dance. So there's a bit of a conundrum here, because I'm talking about the hard work of welcome, and I'm also talking about the joy of dance. But those people who look so good when they dance have done a lot of hard work to get there. Hard internal work, hard partnering work, learning, adapting. And that's what I'm really talking about here. The ongoing hard work of creating and sustaining a beautiful, sometimes rhythmic, sometimes agile, beloved community. I look forward to partnering with you through the spring as you prepare for the next step in your long-term dance journey.